Hi everybody, this is Christina from Access Princeton. I'm here live at Station 60 on Witherspoon Street in Princeton. We're going to be speaking to firefighter Ron Dilapo from the Princeton Fire Department for Fire Prevention Week. He's going to offer us some tips on ways to help prevent fires and to keep your home safe. Hi Ron, how are you?
I'm fine, Chris. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for taking time to give us some tips on some fire prevention things. So, what are some of the things that we can do to keep safe in our homes?
Well, there's a few things that come to mind. One would be keeping your cooking attended. So if you're cooking in the house, you never want to leave your stove unattended. Another thing would be, if you do smoke, to make sure you discard your smoking materials in a proper way so that you don't have any issues with discarding them, so they might cause a fire. But probably one of the most important things would be to install working smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms in your home.
Okay, great. Yeah, the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms are very important. Why do we want to have them?
Smoke alarms are your first alert when you do have a fire, especially when you're sleeping. Smoke alarm is really going to be there to wake you up in the middle of the night. Most fire fatalities occur in the evening hours when you're sleeping. And the only way that you're going to know that there's a fire is if the alarm sounds to wake you. So the smoke alarms are there to do just that. Unlike a carbon monoxide alarm, where during the day hours and things of that nature, rather, you don't know where carbon monoxide is coming from. It's colorless, odorless gas, and that's something that doesn't matter if you're sleeping or not, because you're going to need an alarm to let you know the presence of that gas is there. So smoke alarms are very important. During the day when you're awake, you'll more than likely smell smoke before you have the alarms go off, but when you're sleeping, that's the most important thing, to have the alarms in place so that when you do sleep, they're there to wake you up.
Okay, great. I'm just going to say we're going to move back here a little bit because it's a little loud coming from the back, and just to give everybody a view of the firehouse and all the equipment that's in here. Okay, this is a little bit better. It was a little noisy by the front door.
Sorry about that.
Okay, why is it important to change the batteries in your smoke detector and your carbon monoxide alarms?
The batteries are there not only to power them up, but there are different types of alarms that you have. There are just the battery operated standalone, which is it's understandable. You're going to need to change the batteries so that they continue to work for you. There's also different smoke alarms which are hardwired into the electricity of your home, so that you have the hardwired units, but they have a battery backup. And the battery backup is there so that if there's a power failure, you're going to have that available to you, so you still have a warning, whether it's day or the evening hours.
Okay, great. And how often should we change them?
You should change the batteries at least once a year. And it's a good idea when you have you're doing this, you want to think of a date that you can remember from year to year. So you want to make sure it could be an anniversary date, it could be when you change the clocks for changing the daylight savings time, or if you have an anniversary or something like that. So the batteries in the smoke detectors are very important. There also are different types of smoke detectors, and I had mentioned that earlier. One of the things that with smoke detectors that's very important is that they're on each level of the home. You want to make sure that you have one in the basement area and any other living area in the house. You want to make sure that they're outside the bedrooms, and you want to have them in the bedrooms if possible. They do have the hardwired interconnected type smoke detectors or wirelessly interconnected smoke detectors. And if you have them when they're connected together, if you have an alarm in a remote part of your house, it's going to allow you to have earlier warning. And that's very important. The smoke alarms are there to protect you so that you can escape and be able to get out of the home safely. With the early warning with a smoke alarm, you'll really only have a few minutes, especially if you're sleeping, by the time the alarm would wake you up. It's very common that if you had a fire that was burning freely in your home somewheres, that the size of that fire doubles every couple of minutes. So it's very important to have that early warning. Along with the flames, which is typically not the killer of people, it's the smoke that kills us in a fire situation. So the smoke alarms are there to detect that. They're going to alarm, and if you have them throughout the home, especially in your bedroom, it's going to give you that earlier warning that you need so that you have time to escape. And with escaping from the home, one of the things that you want to try to do before you would have an emergency would have an escape plan of some sort. You want to know 2 ways out. You want to be able to go out. Of course, the way you normally would come in is probably your most common way, but you want to know of a second way in case you're blocked by smoke or fire, so that you have another way to get out. And it's a good idea to have a meeting place outside the home too, because with that meeting place, you're going to be able to go there, your family members are going to be able to find you, and if you have children, it's really important to let them know that they should go out of the house to this meeting place if there's a fire situation where they have the alarm sounding, because this is going to help them know where to go. It's going to allow you to know where to go to find them, and hopefully you won't have to worry about that if there is a situation with a fire in your home.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to thank Mrs. Mo New Jersey for sharing this on Twitter. That's great. We appreciate that. And that goes along with our preparedness month from last month when we talked about having an emergency plan for all disasters. So what you said about having a plan when you have to evacuate from a fire is really important as well. What are some other things you can offer that can be done to be fire safe in your home?
Well, just different fire safe type things in your home. I had mentioned about the cooking, to be able to make sure that you don't leave your cooking unattended. If you're cooking in your kitchen, you want to make sure that you're not wearing loose clothing, that you're going to reach over flames and things of that nature. You want to make sure that you take anything that's flammable that children may be interested in, lighters, matches, things like that. Keep them out of their reach. That's very good to do, and teach them respect for these things and let them know that they shouldn't be playing with matches and fires and things, so that they're only for adults. You want to make sure that you just keep things in a manner where they're neat and orderly, and just watch in your home that you don't have an over amount of clutter. You want to make sure that your heating unit, your furnaces are checked each year, and that'll help you with not so much fire, but definitely with the possibility of carbon monoxide. You don't want to have a furnace that's not working properly. You want to make sure that the chimneys are clear and free, and that everything is working the way that it should be for the safety of you and your family members.
Now, somebody mentioned also fireworks. Now, I realize fireworks are more prevalent in the 4th of July, summertime, but people could have them any time of the year. So how should we deal with that?
Well, fireworks, at least in New Jersey, fireworks are not allowed in the civilian sector. They are done by professionals. There are things that are sold like sparklers and things of that nature, but even they can be very dangerous. A sparkler that you would have, you would think is very safe, because sometimes you may see them on the shelves of stores, burn very, very hot. They'll be at least 1,200 degrees when you're doing this. So if you have that sparkler and you drop it because you're burned by the sparks that are coming off of it in an area where it could catch on fire around you, it could be a problem, whether it's you catching yourself, which is typically not what's happening, but if you drop it on the ground, it's very easily able to ignite things that are combustible around it. So you want to be very careful with fireworks. They are something that can hurt you. They are very curious sometimes for people, and very exciting to see, but it's something that should be left for professionals. And definitely, if you're in an area where you're using fireworks where they're allowable, you want to follow the manufacturer's recommendations on how to set them up and activate them, and do it in a safe manner.
Right, right. And same thing with the sparklers.
Yes,
all the
sparklers
kids
as well.
want to have a sparkler, but not necessarily a great idea.
No, sparklers are actually dangerous. They always seem to be very harmless because it's something that you can hold in your hand and you wave it around and it looks very nice. But if you do come in contact with the element that's on there, it's a piece of metal, and again, it does get extremely hot. You're going to drop it, and when you do drop it, that's when the problem comes into play, because you will wind up getting into a situation where you can catch things on fire around you, whether it's grass or brush or something else that could do that, which it could extend and cause a larger fire.
And now, just the obvious thing: if there's a fire, what should we do?
If you have a fire, the thing to do would be to leave your home, if you're in your home, go outside and call 911. Once you're outside of a burning building, whether it's your home or another structure, you want to stay out. You don't want to go back inside. We talked about the smoke. As it builds up, it's harmful to us and can kill us. And the fire growth can be very, very fast and fool you. You may think it's safe, but it's not. So once you're out of a house that's on fire, you want to stay out. You want to go to your meeting place, you want to call 911. If you have a cellular phone, great. Use the cellular phone to call 911 for help. You can use a house phone if it has a wireless remote. As long as it has electricity to it and it has a connection, you can also call 911 there. But you want to do it from outside the house. If you don't have anything and the fire is growing so quickly that you're just escaping with just yourself, go to a neighbor's house, knock on the door, get them to call 911 for you. But don't go back inside once you're out.
Okay, great. Great information. Is there any other tips you can offer us, Ron?
I think at this time, because of our time availability, I would recommend if you are interested in other fire prevention type information, go to the web and look under the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association site. They have a very large area under fire safety that you can look up all kinds of different safety issues regarding fire and general safety things for children and adults as well.
Okay, we did have a question. What are the top causes of house fires?
One of the top causes of house fires is careless cooking. This is something that, being unattended, it can cause a fire and grow relatively quickly. Another leading cause would be careless smoking discards. So if you do smoke in your home, be very careful to use ashtrays and to make sure that you're doing it in a safe manner. If you were to discard a lit cigarette into a couch, per se, there are many couches that are there that are made these days that have a flammable cushioning that's there. It's a polyurethane type cushioning, and once that catches on fire, it burns ferociously like gasoline. So you have to be very careful. In the earlier days, in the 1950s and before, a lot of the furnishings in the home were made of natural fibers, cottons, things of that nature, woods. The furnitures that we have now will burn a lot more ferociously and spread fires in the house. So careless smoking is a concern. Also, careless cooking is a concern. Those are the two things that are probably the most leading things for cause of fires in residences within the United States.
Okay, great. And now just to recap, everybody should have a smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector, check the batteries regularly. Anything else?
Just make sure that when you do have your smoke alarms, it's a good idea to test them, and I would recommend testing them at least once a month. And then for smoke alarms, it's recommended that if you have a smoke alarm that's older than 10 years old, and it's either a battery-operated standalone type or the type that's hardwired into your home, that you replace it every 10 years. So that way you know that the units will be working when you need them.
Okay, great. Great information, Ron. I thank you for your time. If anybody has any further questions, they can reach out to Access Princeton, and we will get in touch with Ron, and he can answer all your questions for you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Goodbye.